Morning, welcome to Wake Up America. It is Monday, April 18th. I'm Carl Higbee.
And I'm Erin Elmore. Today is Easter Monday, tax day.
It is tax day. Also, fun fact, Alex Kramer, who is, you know Alex Kramer, she's never seen Top Gun.
She's never seen Top Gun?
Never, yep, calling you out, Alex.
Wow. Well, now we know what she's going to do tonight.
It blew my mind this morning. Alex is like all energy. I figured that would have been her movie.
So Alex is going to watch Top Gun, and here are some of the stories we're following for you this morning.
All right, folks, more seriously, day 54 in the Ukraine war is already another ugly one. The Russians attacking the west and the city of Lviv, and we have at least 6 dead at this point that we know of, in the north, in Kharkiv, in the south, where they're saying that they have surrounded and closed besieged city of Mariupol. We're going to have live reports throughout the morning on that. This as President Vladimir Zelensky is urging President Biden to visit his war-torn nation to see the carnage that Russian troops have enacted on the civilian population for himself.
Wow, plus another weekend, another crime wave filled with mass shootings, terrified civilians, and of course, weak policy. We'll get into everything that's going on and what's behind all of it.
Yeah. And there's a doctor in the house today.
Is there a doctor in the house? Today we have not one, but two. We'll examine the rise of COVID cases in the Philadelphia mask mandate that is coming to my home state and city.
Oh, no.
Politics and policy with Dr. Mani Sethi and Dr. Mehmet Oz this morning on Wake Up America.
Dr. Oz, you know, being a TV guy, he's such a great interview, especially when it comes to issues that like everyday people care about.
Yeah, you know, he gave up this great career in television to run for office as a Republican, so I want to know more about that. Not an easy decision.
No. It's actually a huge decision. But first, we're going to head to Ukraine, where Easter Monday has already seen plenty of rocket fire from Russian forces, more normal in that city, and now we're seeing massive rocket attacks.
And we had heard her guest say, "We will win this war." These people are so patriotic.
Yeah, it is actually remarkable to see how far they've taken this rebellion against the Russian invasion. So we're going to see more of Sarah at the top of the hour. Let's welcome commentary and editor for the Washington Times, Kelly Sadler, and we have best-selling author and political analyst Mark Halperin.
They have to be proud of me. This is the most important thing. I do it.
Psychology is important in every aspect of life. Confidence is important. And President Zelensky, as an actor and as somebody who's got clear, super high emotional intelligence, he gets it.
Yeah.
So, this is no small battle for Zelensky.
Yeah. Well, Erin, you've been on the couch with me for 3 days now, and you were hosting here before that. So we've had a chance to talk to a number of people. Kiera Ruddock, the member of parliament in Ukraine, and she said if we don't stop Russians in Ukraine, you're going to have to stop them in Poland. How should Biden respond to something like that?
Well, we know that Biden isn't like Zelensky, who's been a strong leader, or President Trump, for example, who always led from the front. Mm-hmm. They don't read the headlines and decide what to do. They decide what to do and make the headlines. And that's what Zelensky is doing. And Joe Biden is sitting here almost like a lame duck, doing nothing. And Zelensky's been seen as such a nationalist leader, revered by his people. Yeah. And if Biden wants to be seen as strong, I think he needs to act and act swiftly.
Yeah, and it's his moment. Like, look, I always encourage our president to succeed. I don't care much for many of his policies. However, I still would root for him to put America at the front of the pack here. But Kelly, I want to kind of pivot over here to the United States, or particularly COVID. Okay, we've seen COVID policies. They're talking about reintroducing them. They've failed to go and challenged.
Well, good. I'm glad that people are challenging these laws. But the problem is it depends on what kind of court system you're operating. We do believe that Lady Justice is blind, but what we've seen lately, Lady Justice seems to be very political.
Yeah.
Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, largely a blue state these days.
Right.
So as this case makes its way through the Pennsylvania court system, and by the way, slowly, so by the time,
slowly.
So that's the problem. You want a reaction now for our children in masks, and for our frontline workers are wearing masks or going to a gym huffing and puffing in a mask. The results are going to be slow, and unfortunately, it depends on how political the courts are, and that's the answer.
Yeah, and Mark, on that real quick, I got about 20 seconds left. Politically, I mean, do you start to see? I mean, look, we've seen some red waves already.
The clearest signal we got was Governor Hochul of New York saying over the weekend, no more shutdowns, no more mandates. I think that tells you where Democrats now understand where the public is.
Yeah.
By any of it.
Well, you know, to be honest, like I am. I think that it's funny and people need to lighten up a little bit. And look, Trump's my guy, but they can still make fun of him. It can still be funny.
I thought that was kind of funny, and they did it pretty spot on Trump.
Yeah.
It was pretty, you got to laugh, have a sense of humor, I think.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Thanks, Al. We appreciate the recap on that one. All right, folks, reports are claiming that a Russian government hacking group has been targeting Ukraine's power grid to send them back to the dark ages. But so far, all the attacks have pretty much failed to this point. Could this lead Russia to attempt a larger scale attack?
Joining us now for the details, former Director of Cybersecurity Policy for the Department of Defense and Senior Fellow for the Center for Security Policy, Colonel John Mills. Welcome back to Wake Up America, Colonel.
Hey, good morning, Erin and Carl. Always an honor to be with you.
Well, we're really glad to have you this morning. Now, how worried should we be about these threats of cyber attacks? And do you believe that Russia may have already renewed their attempts?
Well, yes, we should always be alert. A little bit of a nothing burger so far. Several possible explanations for that. That Russia is just overwhelmed with so many other things.
So, Colonel, just a follow-up question quickly here. I have friends inside the federal government, inside the FBI, and they said that their technology is so outdated, and you hear this quite frequently in several branches of government. How is this impacting our ability to fight back against a serious cyber attack?
Well, we spend a lot on cyber inside the U.S. government. When I was in government, I'm retired from government now, a lot, multiple billions of dollars on it. Yeah, a lot of the stuff, there is legacy alert environments, sensing environments, so we can do better. But the U.S. government is a very large organism when it comes to cyber.
All right, good morning. Welcome to Wake Up America. It's Monday, April 18th, tax day.
Tax day.
Well, I'm Carl Higby. I'm in for Rob. He'll be back. Don't worry about it, folks.
And I'm Erin Elmore, and today is also Easter Monday. And here are some of the stories we're following for you this morning.
Yes, in fact, it's day 54 of the Ukraine war, and it's already another ugly one. The Russians attacking the west, the city of Lviv, where at least 7 are dead right now that we know about.
Another crime wave. We've seen mass shootings, terrified civilians, and weak policy. We'll get into exactly what's behind it all.
Yeah. And there is a doctor today.
2 doctors in the house this morning. Today we have Dr. Mehmet Oz, and he is going to examine, the Philadelphia Mass Mandate. We have politics and policy, and with our other doctor as well, Manny Sethi.
Yeah, he's I love having that guy on.
Throw it over to our other correspondent, Chuck Holton, down in the south of the country.
Those are devastating results, really. So when Sarah opened with her package, she used the word chaos. Obviously, Chuck, you're seeing chaos there too, but what are our leaders saying as this war moves west towards Poland? What do we anticipate next, and how are we going to really get any of this carnage and bloodshed and destruction to stop?
I think at least for the soldiers and territorial defense that we're talking with here in Mykolaiv, they have a sort of grim sense of urgency that they need to not just defend their city, but take the fight to the Russians and keep them out of Mykolaiv. This city has been without water now for a week because...
Appreciate you being here, and unfortunately, it's on the backs of some really horrible news from Ukraine.
Yeah, really sad and devastating. Yeah. But Kelly, we're going to pivot and start with a question for you. The entire world seems to be asking, is enough being done to help the Ukrainian people? Here's President Zelensky. Respond to that, please. Take a listen.
Of course, we need more, but I am happy that he is helping us now. I feel that right now we are having a cleaner dialogue. It's been a dialogue that's had some twists and turns, and not just talk.
We need more. What say you?
He continues to say we need more, and that, Western leaders know what he needs, but are refusing to provide the support. Listen, honestly, these sanctions don't seem to be working.
It came out in America for Joe Biden to say, like, hey, you know what? I'd like some free stuff.
Well, unlike President Trump, there are no promises made, promises kept here. But the thing about canceling student loan is you have to understand student loan is a contract, legally binding contract, just like rent or buying a house. And you can't just air quotes cancel this.
Right.
I mean, and then what does that do to the rest of us? We inherit more debt as Americans. Also, what happens to the hardworking people that paid for their own college?
Right.
So there really is a lot of inequity here, and you might end up alienating some people that you didn't intend.
Or what happened to the thousands of people that joined the military and went to war so they could get their college paid for, and then they're just going to pay everybody? I mean, Mark, at this point, there's also been death threats to reports of members of Congress and how they vote regarding infrastructure spending and a variety of other things, something retiring Michigan Congressman Fred Upton takes very seriously. Take a listen to this.
Death threats, I mean, they never were like we had this last year, but it was pretty crazy, and it's going to be a detriment getting good people.
System to the point where there are death threats made against folks all the time.
Yeah. Not tolerable.
Not tolerable at all. You know what else isn't tolerable, Kelly, is the federal transportation mask mandate. It's a really hotbed topic. And the new White House COVID coordinator, Dr. Ashish Jha, was asked about the CDC's upcoming decision about it on May 3rd. Here's his response. Take a listen.
This is a CDC decision, right? And the CDC scientists, what they laid out was they said, look, we need 15 more days. And the reason we need 15 more days is that cases are rising. We want to see, is this going to translate into more severe disease, more hospitalizations, more deaths?
15 more days to the 735 days, of the 14 days to flatten the curve.
Right. The millionth year to flatten the curve. So, Kelly, are they just kicking the can down the road?
Well, they're kicking the can down the road, and it doesn't make any sense, right? Airplanes are one of the safest places to be based on their air filtration systems. Messaging is really inconsistent. Yes.
So, Kelly, that's a really excellent point you make. So they want to basically open our border because COVID is over, but if any of us want to take an airplane ride or go on the subway or take a train, we're masked up.
Right.
So, Mark, what do you say about that?
I think this is going to end pretty soon, not just because of the political pressure, but because it just doesn't make sense. Americans have decided, I think, as almost uniformly, that it's up to individual and family responsibility. And so these mandates are going away.
Yeah. Mark, before we let you go, Congressman Fred Upton, he was asked if Kevin...
So sad. So let's bring in the spokesperson for the National Police Association, a 29-year police veteran and current law enforcement trainer, Sergeant Betsy Ratner Smith. Welcome back to Wake Up America, Betsy.
Hey, good morning, you guys. Happy Easter Monday.
Happy Easter Monday.
So, Sergeant, we had you on yesterday, and we talked about a lot of things. And these recent shootings, they've sparked the debate over the Second Amendment. They've also sparked the debate over the gun-free zones. And we went through the list yesterday, but if you weren't watching yesterday, which, folks, come on, you have your coffee with us on Sunday morning. The issue is the recent mall shooting in North Carolina, gun-free zone. Airbnbs, it says on their code of conduct that you should have your guns secured in there.
Other areas, we don't have the armed robberies and the carjackings that you have in New York or Chicago. You know, remember, I come from Chicago, where it's almost as difficult to own a firearm as it is in New York. Lie, it's not true.
Yeah. But the left never wants to let the truth get in the way of a good story, so they are always lying. So speaking of New York Mayor Eric Adams, who you brought up, Sergeant, take a listen to what he had to say just yesterday.
The scales right now would tip very heavily in favor of the reforms of the progressive left. Well-intended, some needed, but tipped too far. And what we have as a result is this growing fear of crime, this growing actual amount of crime.
Is right, and he understood what we had to go through during the mid-'80s, early '90s, when we had to transform policing.
Time left here, but I really want you to weigh in on this. So we just heard what Eric Adams had to say. He agrees that progressive politics are playing a huge part in the crime wave. What do you think?
And yet he's playing progressive politics. He's asking people to support Build Back Better.
Lives were taken as a result of a hit on a tire repair facility. Meanwhile, Ukraine has completed a questionnaire which will start forming them as part of the EU for their membership decision.
Actually, that number's been updated to 7, unfortunately.
7.
For more on this, let's bring in retired Air Force Brigadier General and co-founder of Restore Liberty, also Newsmax contributor Blaine Holt. Welcome, Black.
Good morning. Happy Easter Monday.
Yeah.
Happy Easter Monday to you. So, General, the head of Zelensky's office expects the recommendation to be positive if they receive that member status of the EU. What will that do, and how will this impact what's going on over there in Ukraine?
Well, the information war will just ratchet right on up. And I think it's a positive development if they'll fast track that membership. It's not the contentious membership, obviously, in NATO, but Russia will view that as escalation. They'll use it as a reason to say it's escalation. It's not.
Right. Well, unfortunately, we've been reporting on missile strikes in Lviv this morning that have killed at least, I believe, 9. Yeah. What does this focus on, Lviv region mean for Russian strategy? The further west this moves, the more dangerous this war becomes.
It's about terrorizing the civilian population, Erin. What they're trying to do is reconstitute their army in the east. hearing a lot of reporting about potentially bringing in foreign fighter forces like the Syrians we had talked about earlier to get them ready for invasion. But in the meantime, they want to send a message to Ukraine that we will hit you anywhere in your country, and we will terrorize civilians, and we're not going to stop that.
We'll see you in the next hour. Plenty more still to come on Wake Up America. And don't forget to download the Newsmax app. Do what millions of others have done, and it's free. You take us with you everywhere you go, and you're watching Wake Up America, only on Newsmax.
Is Newsmax.
All right, good morning. Welcome to Wake Up America. It's 8 a.m. on the East Coast, Monday, April 18th. I'm Carl Higbee.
And I'm Erin Elmore, and today is Easter Monday. Did you pay your taxes?
We paid them last week. It was painful.
Well,
you know, we do the quarterly estimates and all that stuff. I still ended up paying taxes. It's just like, come on, guys. Like, what does my money go to?
Isn't it, well...
You know, not the border.
Definitely not.
So, but you know what it does go to is the Easter egg roll at the White House. It's prepped, and we have a live look at that actually right now. They're getting things all done up there. They're going to have some kids in. They're going to do some Easter egg things and some hunts. It's fun things.
I took my son twice, but under a different administration. We'll just leave it there.
You weren't invited to this one?
No, I don't think that. I don't think they're rolling out the red carpet for me there, unfortunately for them, because my son had a lot of fun there. But
I'm shocked.
Shocked. So moving on from the Easter egg roll, we got a lot going on. It's a big day. Here are some of the stories we're following for you right now.
Well, unfortunately, it's day 54 of the war in Ukraine, and already another ugly one. Russians attacking in the west, in the city of Lviv, where at least 7 are dead, and the north in Kharkiv and south, where they are saying that they have surrounded and closed the besieged city of...
Another weekend, another crime wave. We've seen mass shootings, terrified civilian, and weak policy. We are going to get to the bottom of what's causing all of this. Doctor, is there a doctor in the house? We have not one, but 2. We're examining the rise of COVID cases, the Philadelphia mask mandate, politics and policy with Dr. Manny Sethi and Dr. Mehmet Oz this morning on Wake Up America.
Doctor.
I'm not a doctor, but I am a lawyer.
There you are. All right, but first we're going to go to Ukraine, where Easter Monday has already seen plenty of rocket fire from the Russian forces after a weekend with plenty of other Russian retaliation in retaliation to... All right, so folks, let's welcome back our powerhouse panel. Joining me now, my co-host, obviously, Erin Elmore, and commentary editor for the Washington Times, Kelly Sadler, and best-selling author and political analyst, Mark Halperin.
Very muddy predicament that we are in currently under this administration.
Yeah.
A predicament indeed. So Mark, let's talk about some leadership here. Zelensky was asked what or how he wants to be remembered, and we've already heard a bit of his answer, but let's take a listen to this.
A human being that loved life to the fullest and loved his family and loved his motherland. Definitely not a hero.
He's totally
very normal,
humble guy, seems to be a patriotic guy and a family man. What can we say about this kind of leadership, Mark?
It's essential to lead a movement, and we've seen in other historical moments the country haven't had someone like that. The Ukrainians are blessed to have him in place, and his life story up until now, his life story going forward.
In this war for his people and to save face and for the elections coming up, so do not underestimate the power of Russia.
Yeah, it's good to see the Ukrainian people and Ukrainian leaders really remaining strong and steadfast. But Mark, I want to pivot, shift gears to what's going on here in the United States, particularly with the coronavirus. New White House COVID coordinator and frequent guest of the show, Dr. Ashish Jha, acknowledges an uptick in cases, but defends the vaccine and, of course, the actions that the government has taken. Take a listen and let me know if you agree.
Uses our vaccines are holding up really well against BA2, against all of the Omicron variants, especially if you've been boosted. So the key here is you got to have the initial 2 shots, and then you got to have a booster.
You think he's right there? You think natural immunity has anything to play? Being healthy has anything to play? You think vax it up?
I think every family can decide for itself, and I think we're moving towards that. You see that in a lot of localities, some places no longer requiring vaccinations and testing instead. And we're headed towards where a lot of governors, red state governors, thought we should be, which is personal and family responsibility.
Yeah. You've got some big Philly roots, all right?
Yeah.
You graduated from Villanova. Obviously, you went to law school there. The active member of the Pennsylvania Bar. Over the weekend, this lawsuit was filed to overturn this new mask mandate that's been put in certain areas in Philadelphia. Do you think that courts are finally going to say, okay, guys, there's no data to show that the mandates stop the flow of this virus? Do you think at any point that's going to start weighing in?
I mean, the problem is we believe that Lady Justice in our justice system is blind, but unfortunately that's not true. Right. Judges are often appointed by a conservative or a liberal, right, and that impacts how they rule. I'm glad that there are lawsuits. Yeah. I wish they were more speedy to change the rules and the laws quicker, yeah, but how we rule depends on how these judges think, and as these cases make their way up to the Supreme Court potentially, we will know more, but you got to keep fighting, never give up. People will push you and governments will push you as far as you will let them.
Well, and that's the problem too, is some of these things, they take so long to go through the court system, yeah, that by the time they're litigated and the time they're decided, the damage has already been done.
That's
and
right.
I hope that's not the case here. Kelly Sadler, Mark Halpern, I appreciate you being with us today.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Carl.
Have a great day.
All right, folks, COVID cases are actually rising, so mandates are starting to come back. Some be in for Rob, don't worry, he'll be back tomorrow, folks. But unfortunately right now, COVID is making a comeback as far as cases. They're rising, but it's all happening around the country in all different areas despite what everybody is doing. Dr. Oz joins us next with the latest COVID-19 headlines after the break. You're not going to want to miss that. You're watching Wake Up America only on Newsmax.
Welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Erin Elmore. The Pennsylvania primaries are heating up, and our next guest is hot off the heels of an endorsement from former President Trump for his run at the Pennsylvania Senate, taking Pat Toomey's seat. Joining us now is the former host of the Dr. Oz Show and Pennsylvania Senate candidate, Dr. Mehmet Oz. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Erin. Happy Easter Monday.
Same to you, and congratulations on your endorsement. So how much of an impact do you think that this endorsement will have on your race?
It's massive. It's already demonstrated that impact. First off, people call you back. It's always sort of nice that when you schedule a meeting, they show up. It's a lot easier to get basic campaigning tasks done. But the real impact is now when people are talking about the race, I say, listen, President Trump did a lot of work looking at all the candidates in this race and decided I was the best one to represent the state in the Senate, that I was the one most likely to win in November, which, of course, he puts at the top of the list of reasons he endorsed me.
So much like President Trump, you have 98% name recognition and a great crossover appeal. And do you think that will help you in the state of Pennsylvania?
Without question, benefits me. I can go to the farm show, which tends to be a more conservative crowd, and everyone knows me. I can go to a more liberal event in downtown Philadelphia, and everyone recognizes me. And
Absolutely. You spoke about your 13-year television career. You had a really nice life in television, and you gave all of that up to run for office as a Republican. Not an easy thing to do. I'm sure a lot of criticism. Why would you give it all up?
The country's in crisis, Erin. I didn't want to live out my life in the safety of the TV studio on 57th Street in Manhattan, or frankly, in the operating room, which is pretty safe for surgeons, even though it's not always so safe for patients. But we can't even say that publicly. You'll get shunned.
And you will. And we know that you have these conservative values. For the people that are just still learning about your policies, what are your plans if elected?
Well, first off, I'm a life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness person. Life, because I believe it starts at conception, protect children when they're young so they're not pushed into complex sexual issues when they're age 5. We don't teach calculus to kindergartners for a reason. They're not ready. The same should apply to transgender lessons and the like.
And quickly, you touched on the Second Amendment. Some people have said that you're not pro-guns, and I know that's not true at all. You own a hunting ranch in Montana, I believe. Extrapolate on that just a little bit.
Well, the hunting ranch is in Florida, but it's nice. I'll invite you down. You know, it's so weird. I was told before I entered the race that the ads against you will be lies. And I said, why would you bother? I've been talking on television for so many years. Find something that I said. They said, no. The lies are better because if they were true, you'd never run. Not only did I learn to hunt when I was 12, 13 years old in central Pennsylvania, I taught my son to shoot before he went to kindergarten. I've hunted all over the world. But, Erin, the Second Amendment is not about hunting. The Second Amendment is about our God-given and constitutionally protected right to own a gun of our choice. Every law-abiding American citizen has that right. And we ought to be able to, we don't need a license to have a First Amendment right to speak freely. We should not need one for the Second Amendment either.
Well, Dr. Oz, that was such an amazing point on the Second Amendment. You better take me hunting, however. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Mehmet Oz.
God bless you.
God bless you. Up next, Russia continues its barrage of missile attacks on key Ukrainian cities as leaders urge evacuation. We'll be discussing the latest, as well as get a look from someone on the ground in Ukraine. You're watching Wake Up America, only on Newsmax.
7 people are now dead, and many wonder how long this can go on for.
Too long. Joining us now, retired Air Force Brigadier General and co-founder of Restore Liberty, and also Newsmax contributor, General Blaine Holt. General, thanks for being with us again.
Good to be with you.
So, General, we're seeing this big charge from the Russian forces. Obviously, they just lost a major ship outside of Ukraine.
Is he gets into a strategic mindset. Putin is single-handedly conducting an economic war that he had been planning for years.
Let's hope not. But let's also bring in Ukrainian Parliament member Alexi Goncharenko. Alexi, thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Thank you for being here, truly. Now, after rocket attacks in Lviv this morning and a violent weekend in the south, how are you holding up, and what is the situation on the ground?
The situation is tough. Putin is continuing terrorizing the civilians, and his playbook is absolutely clear, Syrian one. But it's something we already see during last almost months.
Quickly, General Holt, in our last minute here, President Zelensky has also said that Ukraine isn't willing to give up the Eastern Territory, although Russia wants them to, in order to negotiate with them. What are your thoughts on this matter?
I don't see really how there can be a negotiation when you're actively turning cities in Ukraine to ash and then trying to negotiate from a position of that. I also think the Ukrainian people are so resilient, have gone so far in defending their nation. I don't see much of a will of the people to be ceding land or ceding concessions while this brazen act against civilians occurs.
Folks, we appreciate your time. So stay here. We're watching Wake Up America only on Newsmax. Back to Wake Up America, folks. I'm Carl Higbee. People are on edge these days. Multiple mass shootings have rocked our nation just in the last week. In Pittsburgh, police are searching for multiple suspects in a shooting that killed 2 juveniles at a South Carolina mall, 12 injured, and here in New York City, 10 injured after a gunman opened fire on a crowded subway train.
It's so sad. So let's bring in the spokesperson for the National Police Association, a 29-year police veteran and current law enforcement trainer, Sergeant Betsy Ratner Smith. Welcome back to Wake Up America, Betsy.
Hey, good morning, you guys. Happy Easter Monday. I was watching yesterday and shouting at the TV. And here's the thing. When we talk about gun-free zones, what you hear very often in the media is police leadership saying, oh, we don't want more guns. I mean, just yesterday on a national news show, Eric Adams was parroting Joe Biden and saying, oh, we need more ATF, more federal police officers, and we need to get rid of the ghost guns in New York.
But the left never wants to let the truth get in the way of a good story, so they are always lying. So speaking of New York Mayor Eric Adams, who you brought up, Sergeant, take a listen to what he had to say just yesterday.
During the mid-'80s, early '90s, when we had to transform policing.
So we have a short time left here, but I really want you to weigh in on this. So we just heard what Eric Adams had to say. He agrees that progressive politics are playing a huge part in the crime wave. What do you think?
And yet he's playing progressive politics.
Erin Elmore, Alex Kramer. Rob's going to be back tomorrow.
Yes.
So I know.
We enjoyed having you, girl.
Yeah.
This is my last day.
I'm okay.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, Erin. You were great. Fantastic
We had
having
her
you.
all weekend, too. But before we go, let's bring in the hosts of National Report, Sean Kreisman, Emma Reckenberg, who've got their show coming up at 9 a.m. Eastern. What do you got for us?
Yeah, good morning to you. A lot of folks getting over Easter weekend, but in some areas of the country, it was a lot more difficult than others.
Festivities highlighted by the Easter egg roll. Now, Erin, I know you have a little experience with this, right?
Certainly not under this administration, but I took my young son. There we are at the White House for the Easter egg roll. You can't really see they're wearing matching bow ties. He did ask this year why we're not going, and I had to explain
Your
the
poor husband had to wear matching bow. I feel bad for the guy.
He loves it. He loves it.
You
Look
love
how
that,
cute
Carl.
they look. But we had a great time, and we went twice, and good time had by all, but not invited this year.
That's weird.
Sadly.
They didn't invite you.
Shockingly, I didn't get invited.
Who knew? Folks, before we go, again, I gotta get Alex on this.
No,
Has not seen Top Gun.
Why? This has been like we started the show with this. Now we're ending the show with Top Gun.
This news takes my breath away.
Oh,
I see what you did there.
If I saw it, I would get that joke.
We are actually showing her some clips off camera and stuff like that, and she was like, you know what? I need to see this.
I need to see this. It felt like it was pumping me up a little bit.
I was inverted.
I saw that clip. Now I understand it. I love it. I'm going to watch National.
If you love Top Gun, tell her to watch it, please.
I'm gonna watch
That's her
it.
homework for this week. All right, folks. Coming up on National Report, well, let's toss it over to Emma Reckenberg and Sean Kreisman, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow, 6:30.